You're listening to the Pine Room Podcast, the home of sports, gambling, entertainment, and whatever the hell else has gone on this week. So pull up a seat by the fire, crack open a cold one, and make sure to get your bets in. Welcome to the Pine Room.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Pine Room Podcast. We are pleased to be joined by one of the most successful college basketball coaches this country's ever seen. Coach Jim Crutchfield joins us today. Coach, welcome to the Pine Room Podcast.
Oh, it's great to be back amongst friends here, guys.
It's great to see you.
My first time up in this neck of the woods. This is something special up here you guys got going on.
We like to think so. Coach has done a hell of a job here. Coach Delbrook, that is.
Yeah, and you're making it even special being here, Coach. It's great to see you again. We haven't seen each other for quite a long time, and everybody was really excited when I pinned you down finally. We could finally meet up, and you made it here, and we really, really appreciate you taking the time to come see us.
Excited to be here.
Great.
Coach, so this is season number 6, is that right?
Season 6 coming up this year. We had one season at Nova Southeastern. We did not play at all.
That terrible COVID year, yeah.
Yeah. So this is actually year number 5 on the court.
Okay.
Year number 6, we practiced all year, COVID year.
Just didn't play any games, all right?
I had to get a little creative that year.
I'm sure, and you're a pretty creative guy. So I want to ask this question right out of the gate because this is the number one question. When Mark told me you were coming on, and it's awesome to see you because it's been a while. But do you still do the Subway pregame ritual where you guys eat the Subway sandwich? Because that was always a successful thing at West Liberty. So
we do a lot of that.
Okay.
However, I've broken from it a little bit.
Well, you got better options down there probably.
And it wasn't so much me that kept that going as it was the players. You know, we lost one year in the national tournament when I was at West Liberty. It was a morning where we played like the 12 o'clock game.
Right. I remember that.
We went and had breakfast at the hotel, and our players saw our opponents getting off the bus that morning with Subway bags, and we got beat that year. So obviously they were telling me that's the biggest reason we lost. So they wouldn't eat anywhere but Subway. Now, you guys all know West Lib. We had Subway every day.
Every day.
Anyway.
I'll never forget. Yeah, right, because it's right there on the campus. I'll never forget Chris Morrow, how brokenhearted he was when you only let him get a 6-inch sandwich. Because I know that was he wanted the foot long every time. But
there's a story behind that. I don't know if you ever heard the Timmy Hosfeld story.
I have, but these guys definitely haven't.
Well, it was a rule: 6-inch Subway sandwich, no pop. We had a specific pregame meal, and then after the game they could eat whatever they wanted.
Right.
But for whatever reason, we're down at D&E, and Timmy comes up to me at the Subway and says, "Coach, can I get a foot long?" He goes, "I really, really am starving. I haven't eaten all day." I said, "Well, Timmy, do you think you'll play better if you eat a foot-long sandwich?" And he said, "Coach, I'll play. I guarantee I'll play better." I said, "The only thing is, I'm going to let you do this, but I'm going to let you explain to the rest of the guys why you're eating a foot-long and they're all eating a 6-inch sandwich." He goes, "I'll do that." He had no problem. Timmy, he had no problem at all with that.
Yeah.
I thought he would say, "Well, okay, I'll eat a 6." He's like, no, heck yeah, I'll explain to him. So anyway, the bottom line was, he was one of the best shooters I've ever coached. He went 1 for 11 from the floor. So the word was out.
Yeah.
Don't ever.
No more foot longs.
No.
Yes. For those of you listening at home, Coach Crutchfield coached at West Liberty. Now he's at Nova Southeastern. Tim Hosfeld, one of our players at West Liberty at the time, and Coach and I worked together during that time. Tim was one of the most incredible long-range shooters you've ever seen in your life. Chris, you saw tons of his games. And nothing like him, and he was probably the smallest guy that you've ever coached, at least in Division II level. And he ain't the foot long, and he went 1 for 11. So
don't ever
stick to the 6-inch.
Don't ever do that.
For those who hopefully we have a lot of people watching, and you obviously know the name Coach Crutchfield, and I'm sure you're familiar with his success at West Liberty. But I just want to read a few of his stats here. I know he's a very humble guy, and I'm sure he doesn't really want to hear all this, but I think it's important to know some of the things that this guy has achieved. He was 2-time National Coach of the Year, 3-time Atlantic Region Coach of the Year. His record at West Liberty, and this is just incredible, 359-61, which is an 855 winning percentage. And his current winning percentage in all of his college coaching is 848. which is the highest percentage of any college coach who has ever coached at least 10 seasons, which is better than Coach K, John Wooden, and Adolph Rupp. That's
pretty good company. Every time I read that, it's awesome.
I hope they're all listening right now.
Maybe Coach K.
Eight-time conference coach of the year, 4-time Fafari Award winner for top college coach in the state of West Virginia for all sports. And it goes on and on, but I think it's just – I just wanted to mention that his success is just incredible, and the history of how this all started, to coming from little old Cameron, West Virginia, as a tennis coach, correct?
They had one tennis court in Cameron, and I bulldozed it over and made a basketball court. So I was the basketball coach at Cameron for 10 years. They don't play tennis.
They didn't have tennis at Cameron? Okay.
No, but you're right about I was the tennis coach at West Virginia.
And a very good one.
For 16 years, yeah. And that was enjoyable, too. I love coaching
Did you dual coach at any time, the tennis and basketball?
A couple years as an assistant basketball coach, and one semester I was doing both the men's tennis and also I'd taken the men's basketball job. So it overlapped by one semester.
Now that when you took the men's basketball job in what year?
I think
if you can remember that.
I think it was 2004, and I think 2004-2005 was the first season.
Okay, so Chris and I were talking about this, and this is one of Chris's fondest memories of you and how you got started. Do you remember when we had that first cookout at Bartell, and you had Shane Maynard? But let's see, who else did it?
They were manning the group.
Oh my gosh, they were all there. Danny Bingley was there.
Adam
Southern, Cody Lockery.
Yeah.
We had, and there was some that, when we talk about that recruiting year, that was an incredible recruiting year.
Yes.
We go through those names of guys like Adam and Shane and Cody and Bingley and Chris Banal.
That's unbelievable.
They all were great, but we actually recruited about 10 guys. There's a few that didn't cut the mustard. We don't ever mention their
names. They didn't make it. But that group of guys was just something special, and how you found those guys, and they all clicked and seemed to be the foundation of what has transpired for you your whole coaching career. Those guys were sort of the foundation of the beginning, wasn't it?
Without a doubt, there was some luck involved, and I still remember. I've always felt like you have to have a strong guard to compete, a guy to lead. I didn't think we had that, and I got a call from Jay DeFrucio saying, hey, there's a guard here. I know you guys are struggling. They were coming off a bad 3-23 season, and most of the starters were gone. And Jay called me and said, there's a guy here. He can't get on our roster. We got so many good guards. But you might be interested in him. And I thought, he's just giving me a bad player, no doubt. And I looked at tapes on Danny Bingley, and I thought, he's unbelievable. I actually remember, all of a sudden, my life will change. There was no more television, sleeping, eating. It was all about, we need Danny Bingley. That's what happened. And the day that we signed him to go along with Shane Maynard and Chris Blair, who I know was underrated coming out of a D3 school, but he met what I wanted. When Dan Bingley came in, I thought we're going to be pretty decent. We're not the team we were picked to be last in the league that year. I remember riding down to the conference coaches meeting with Jay DeFrucio and him saying, I know it's going to be a tough year for you. And I remember thinking the whole way, we're better than you think we are.
You had him right where you wanted him, man.
And if you remember, we actually got Wheeling in the first. We had them down 20, and they come back and tied us. We beat them at the buzzer, and Bingley had 20 points.
Dan was amazing in that game.
But when we signed Dan Bingley, I felt like we've got a team now. If you have a good guard like him, you're in games. You may not win games, but it's hard to blow you out. So the first year we brought in really good players. Shane Maynard was as good a player as I've ever seen as a freshman come into this league.
Where was
incredible
he? Beckley?
Score.
Was he from Beckley?
Woodrow Wilson.
Beckley. And I remember sitting there watching him play in high school, and a couple coaches were saying, he doesn't really fit a position. He's not a true point guard. He's not a true big guy. And I said, I think he can play whatever position he wants. He can play anywhere, and he could. He could play from 1 to 5, and I just felt like we were very fortunate to get Shane Maynard that late in the game. It was almost June. We signed him.
And Coach, did we have who was left over from the previous regime? Corey McDuffie, was he?
He was out of with academic ineligibility.
You did a lot to get him back. That's incredible.
By taking every class I taught.
Yeah, between you and your wife, I think you guys got him, made sure he was going to class. That was part of the problem.
Coaching tennis, coaching basketball.
Chris, I don't remember much. You remember that we cooked hot?
Oh, yeah. We had to go out there and just we was kind of meet the team or introduce his newest recruits. And I wanted to ask you about that, Coach, because when you were hired. That was a tough sell for you to get these guys. Basically, all you had was a brand new building. You didn't have many leftover good players. And how were you able to sell it to these guys? Coming off a 3-24, and then I think 21-10 first year. It was a hell of a job. And I remember people were questioning, like, who's Crutchfield? Why didn't they go outside the program? Who's this guy? Right. You shut them up in a hurry, but just the way it all came together like that, it's incredible how you pulled that off, and it just seemed like it all happened so quick.
Well, and in all honesty, if I was a fan of West Liberty basketball, I would have said worst hire ever.
Right.
You hired the assistant coach off a 3-23 team, and you hired your tennis coach. And
my dad heard a lot of that.
Yes, he did. And your father, Jim, and John McCall would remind me of that, saying, like, when we started winning some games, they're like saying, there's people that are
those
saying
guys
that.
Were very, very, very happy for everything you accomplished.
But I did not blame anybody for saying that. It's what I would have said. Why would you hire this guy? I had nothing behind me to say that. And some things fell together, Chris. I just felt like getting Corey McDuffie eligible, getting Chris Blair as a transfer, who he was the 12th man on a Division III team, but he was just right for us. Getting those freshmen in, I was in a position, and I still remember your father said to me, if you can just get through this first season, he said, we don't expect you to win any games. If you can get through the first season, and then maybe start, pushing up some recruiting after that. And I thought, what a great position to be in. I'm talking about no pressure.
Right.
I expected to win no games. I know we lost an opening game to West Virginia Tech, and I was so disappointed. I was disappointed in the way we played. I was disappointed that we lost. I had been scouting them from the day I got the job in April all the way up to the game. I thought we're going to beat this team, and we lost to them. We lost an overtime game to a team on the road up at Shippensburg, right. And I was so disappointed. But the attitude from people like you guys and other fans were like, this is incredible. Yeah. And our players were hearing that. Yeah. And we won a couple games, and even though we're 2-3, everything was so positive. Yeah. And because I was doing some new things, from a coaching standpoint, it's so much easier to coach guys when they believe in you.
Right, absolutely.
And if they're doubting you, or especially someone like myself who's saying, let's go outside the box and do some stuff, if they're doubting you, you won't have success. But even though I was disappointed, everybody seemed to be very positive around the program. We're winning a couple games. We're coming close to beating some good teams that I thought we should have won anyway, and I was disappointed. But everybody was so positive that the players were like, we got something good going on. Yeah. And it made my job easier, and it has followed me. Fortunately, as a coach, there's certain things I've tried to figure out. Like you mentioned, I've won more than my share of games, and I've tried to figure out why. And I think the two biggest factors that I've had have been, one, I've been given a level of credibility. I probably didn't have it to start that year in a way, but pretty soon I did. Yeah. That made it easy for me to do what I wanted to do. Yeah. And players, it's easier to coach when they believe in you, especially at the high school level, where it's tough to get that year in, year out. And I've had good assistant coaches. Yes. I've had Eric Bavard, Ben Hallett, Aaron Huffman, Jordan Fee. I've got Mike Chow. I've got guys that really are just as big as influence as I am that are with me, and they believe in me and the players. And I've just felt like, I get the credit, and I've had assistant coaches that, they're kind of forgotten sometimes.
Yes.
But, yeah, Coach. It was evident early on in in the beginning at West Liberty about how much of like a family group it was with the assistants to the players, to everybody. And it turned out to be the community was into it.
Yes,
I mean, it just got bigger and bigger, probably sometimes to your annoyance, while they bugging you. And these players were celebrities. And, you know, we came from a team that had struggled, and all these new kids coming in. And the way that you got everybody to just believe, and that excitement was around. It was, you know, Chris and I going to games on the road, and just some of the funnest times I had was early on there, right when you were starting to build things up, and getting to know the players, and just how lucky we've been with the great people that you've coached, not just, you know, players.
Yeah,
but
Matt, I was going to say
fantastic people.
The same thing.
Parents we've met over the years. Very lucky.
I mean, from his staff to I mean, and the players that he recruited. I mean, you could go up to any of those guys and talk to them. They had great personalities. I think they really did appreciate our support and the fans, and it was refreshing, and it was easy to, you know, kind of adopt those guys as our own.
And an enjoyable style that you brought in. Did you have any idea that I know, just talking to you before about it, and I'm sure you've been asked that question a million times about the style and the philosophy. Did you have any idea that it would work as well as it has? Just the up tempo and the pressure and.
No, I did not. And it was, we were going to do something outside the box. But again, you know, I'm talking to an athletic director who's saying, if you can just get through the season, which I'm saying I can do whatever I want. You know, so I'm going to do. I didn't have that pressure to bring in transfers immediately. I didn't have a pressure to say we got to stay close in games. I had the freedom to bring in young guys that I liked. I had the freedom to do what I wanted on the court that might be a little different.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're a coach, especially in the game of football, I feel like a lot of coaches are afraid to go outside the box.
Yeah.
Because if you try the double reverse pass and it doesn't work, people are so critical. If you run off tackle and get one, it's like just another play.
Right.
You know, and in basketball, a little bit too. You go outside the box, you're saying, well, why are they pressing? Why are they doing this? And, you know, if it doesn't work, you look more foolish than if you lose a game 68-61.
Yeah.
But I had that in mind. The last high school game I coached, we beat Wirt Madonna 105-102 in a 32-minute game. So that's the style that I wanted to play.
Right.
That's the style I was going to push. But to answer your question, no, not the kind of success that has brought about. You know, that West Liberty is still doing it right now, and it's working for them today.
And it helped getting the pieces that you got early on, like you said, that recruiting class led by Bings, who was just incredible. I always felt like Dan was like the guy that got overshadowed on the all-conference teams and all that stuff. And any of us that watched the games and were at practice and saw all the stuff, they knew how important he was. He was, because remember when he broke his nose, and some of those times we didn't know if we'd have him. Like, it was just like a different mindset for the team, I think, when he wasn't out there. The very few times that he was hurt, but it was a different team.
You may remember this moment, but he had broken nose, then he broke his wrist.
Right.
At the end of the season, senior year. And it said, don't play. But he had one doctor said, you know something? If you break it again, we'll just fix it again.
Exactly, yeah.
And Dan was like, I want to play so bad I can't stand. I'll just play. So we played Ohio Valley without him the last game of the year and beat him by like 6 points on our court.
Right.
And then we drew him the first round of the tournament and brought Dan back on the court. And we got off to a decent start, but about 2 minutes in the game, there was a loose ball diagonal from our bench. And he, with that cast on, a broken hand, just went diving full out onto the court and did what he does, tipped the ball to a teammate while he was airborne, crushed to the ground, and the place went nuts, and everybody, including me, said, Bing's back.
He's back.
He's back.
Yeah, no, I remember that game. And Dan just made so many plays for people that didn't see him. He just made plays that don't show up in stat sheets, and just so many little things within the game that, Coach, you would be able to say more than me or anybody else, but just a pleasure to watch him. I really, really, truly loved watching Dan. So tell us a little bit about your Nova Southeastern teams, and what's been similar to West Liberty, and what's been a little bit different. Obviously, the weather and the setting.
Weather's way different. Way more simpler than they're very similar.
Right.
I've got an incredible group of guys right now.
Great.
You would absolutely love them.
Awesome. And Jordan Fee, my man, still down there with you?
Yes.
That's great.
Yes. And he's had the opportunity. He's been offered some head coaching jobs, D2, but he's waiting to push me out the door here. I don't blame him.
Hey, it's a good spot to wait in, I'll tell you that. Beautiful.
The players, we've got good players, and their personalities, they're just fun to be around. You know, these are the type of guys, you know, we're an easy place to recruit to. So I have passed on a lot of good players that I felt like maybe they don't fit that mold.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've had that luxury, and I've brought in what I think are good players, you know, and I think, Chris, you mentioned those guys, how easy they were to be around and stuff. I think that lends itself to winning when they're together. I
Absolutely.
think it brings a chemistry. We have that chemistry right now. We had it last year. This reminds me a little bit of a year at West Liberty where we had the most incredible run. You met the 2011 team we were talking about earlier. And we lost off that team the top 4 scorers. You know, we lost Corey Pelly, John Willis-Sinchuk, Jordan Fortney, Barry Schetzer, and everybody's like, finally, it's over. And I thought, I'm not so sure about that. I saw us in practice every day, and I feel that way a little bit about. We had a great year last year, finished 31-1, and you know, we have lost our first team All-American. He was actually the national player of the year in one poll.
Corey,
transferred D1. We lost Nick Smith, who led the nation in assists, 5-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, way ahead of everybody in that, kind of a Luke Dyer type number.
Right.
We lost our best 3-point shooter. You know, 3 of our 5 starters, big time players. But I have the same feeling I had after that year, like, we're back. We are reloading. You know, this is not a rebuilding year. We're gonna have talent. We have guys now to play together.
Did it help having? I know Jordan and Devin was down there with you for a while. Did it help having those guys too to kind of build that up? And then David Dennis transferred down. Probably helped a little bit having guys that would been around it and seen you build it at West Liberty.
No, it helped a lot.
Okay,
not a little bit.
Well, good, because great guys to have on your staff and around the program.
Luke, you had a question about recruiting.
Coach, real quick. Besides talent, like, what else do you look for in, like, just recruiting wise? Like, besides talent, like, what are you like looking for in a?
You know, we look for attitude. There's a lot of things that I've talked to assistant coaches about this that are important to us. One, we look for guys that when they make a mistake, whether it's a box off on the boards or if you know they get beat off the dribble, I look at them closely then, like do they have that ain't happening again mentality, or do they just like, okay, they scored on us and it doesn't mean anything, now we got the ball. Those guys who don't feel it when bad things happen to them, I don't think usually turn out to be great players. I want those guys that feel bad things and don't want them to happen again. So we look for that type of attitude. I look for guys, if I'm playing down here on the playground and playing for money on the asphalt, I'm choosing them on my team there. If I'm choosing them on my team there, I'll choose them on my team to play at Nova Southeastern too. You know, they may not be the right size, the right length and everything, but you're going to win with them.
Yeah.
And we go with those guys. And I go with guys that I feel like when we bring them onto our roster, there's no subtraction with the addition. And that's really complicated now, especially in the transfer portal. We've signed a guy from West Liberty who I feel like he fits that mold perfectly in that, you know, Will Yoakum, when I recruited him out of high school, which I did, you know, and signed him when I was at West Liberty, I remember telling Ben, he is the kind of guy that's easy to play with. He moves well without the ball, and there's no subtraction to the other players, you know. And I felt that way still right now. It's not like because he may score a lot of points, when he comes on the court, other guys disappear. And we get a lot of calls at Nova Southeast about D1 transfers. They're saying, can you get me to the next level? That's what I'm looking at. We're not trying to get anybody to the next level. We're just trying to win basketball games. So if a guy's been averaging 20 points a game, that's interesting, but we're already scoring 100 points a game. You know, we want guys that increase our shooting percentage team-wise. And if he walks on the court, is one of my better players going to start to disappear? And you have to be careful. That's the chemistry issue we talk about, that when a guy walks on the court, not just a point guard, but anybody, sometimes there's an issue of subtraction. And you have to be very careful of that. So when I'm recruiting a player, we recruit a young guy from West Palm Beach, Ryan Davis, and I feel like bringing him aboard, not only does he not take away, everybody gets better when he walks on the court. He's got a hustle type thing. He's not a point guard, but he kind of brings up a level of energy. And you guys all saw Alex Falk.
Right.
And no one, you know, he doesn't fit that bill. I signed Alex Falk at end of May of his senior year
Amazing.
with no other scholarship offers, and he ends up being the National Player of the Year.
It's unbelievable. That is crazy.
Yeah.
But he's a 6'2.5" guy that doesn't have a good handle, awkward passer, not a great looking shot, even kind of awkward in his movement. But when he comes on the court, everybody gets better. He brought a level of energy to the court.
Now, Ryan Davis, coach, he's the kid that was he the Player of the Year, 6A Player of the Year down there?
6A Player of the Year.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive there. So yeah, we're gonna take a quick break here and talk with you here a little bit more. That's
back up to the Mountain East Conference, actually, the West Virginia Conference at some point, right, while you were coaching, right?
Yep.
Yep. And Chris and I and Matt and followed many games, many really, really good players, have a lot of memories, a lot of fun stories. I want to ask you just who, because there's been some characters, as you well know, in the West Virginia Conference Mountain East. Who's one of the biggest character you coached against? Because I would have a couple of guesses as who they might be that you coached against in the West Virginia Conference.
First of all, I always like to have a couple guys I don't get along with. That's easy for me. So I probably won't bring them into the picture.
I bet I could guess.
I'm going to go with Terry Brown. Might be his characters.
good old Terry.
Just absolutely hilarious, crazy
Really,
as a basketball coach.
Really good guy.
Yeah,
really good guy.
And I haven't talked to Terry in years. The last time I talked to him, I was on my way down to the beach house, and he was good friends with Bob Denver Gilligan.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
And he said, I always say, well, what's Gilligan doing down there? And he goes, oh, he's signing autographs at the baseball games down here. And this is before he passed away, obviously. And so I said, I'm going to get down to my beach house. I said, is there any chance you and Gilligan can get in the car with me? I said, if we take him down to Myrtle Beach to all the beach bars,
That would be something
with
there.
a white hat. I said,
my God.
he'll be back. He will be back. So that's for the last comments I had with Terry. Trying to get Gilligan to the beach.
That's unbelievable. I think Dr. Bowman, my
Bowman,
gastroenterologist, was good friends. He went to Bluefield State, I believe, or was from.
He was high school teammates for the Bramwell Millionaires.
With Terry Brown.
With Terry Brown.
That's exactly right, because he did all my colonoscopies, and we would talk before I went under about Terry. He'd always ask about Terry Brown. Always said and talked about exactly like you, what a character he was.
Dave Bowman. Yeah, I haven't talked to Dave. He's a good guy, though.
Oh, great guy. Now, let me ask you about a couple. Chris, think of a couple. How was Zimmerman from AB? Was he a character?
Jekyll and Hyde. On the court, he had one personality. Off the court, a different one.
Yeah.
And, he would probably deny this, but I remember he and I were friends. He's a great coach, got along, but I remember during a game he's yelling at me.
Right, I remember that game.
Just yelling at me, and that pissed me off.
Yeah.
So next time I saw him, we were down in Charleston. I said, "Hey, what was the deal you yelling at me during the game?" He's like, "Wasn't yelling at you." I would never yell at you. I was like, could have sworn you were yelling at me, Greg. No.
He's a very soft-spoken guy when he's not on the court.
Yeah.
He's an animal on the
He's
side, or when he was.
Soft-spoken, humble guy, gets on the court, and he's crazy. Very intense, very good coach. But I think he's a Jekyll and Hyde personality. Yeah.
Chris, you got any coaches?
No, I'm just curious. Like, what was or how is your relationship with Danny Sancombe? Because those rivalries were so good, but you got the best of him on most nights, and those games were tremendous. And but I know your record against Wheeling was pretty damn good, and I know that had to just drive him crazy.
But yeah, they were good. And I think Danny's a great coach. I do. And there was some rivalry there.
Yeah.
And it didn't bother me to have a little rivalry with Wheeling Jesuit.
We had that rivalry going with Fairmont and Wheeling simultaneously almost.
Yes.
Remember that year that we were all in the top 5 in the nation? That was amazing.
Unbelievable.
I mean, what great teams.
That was unbelievable.
Exciting stuff.
There was a 2-year period, my last 2 years here, the 3 teams, West Lib, Wheeling, and Fairmont, went 104-4 against the other teams in the league.
Just absurd.
And we lost 2 of them to Concord.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the year that Fairmont was in the national championship, they only dropped 2 games, and that was us. We got them twice. That was a good 3-way rivalry.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable. Despite the fact, maybe a little rivalry between Coach Sancombe and myself, I respected him, and I thought we had great games against each other.
Yeah.
He's done a great job over at
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
That was about as good as our league had ever been.
Oh,
I mean,
my,
top heavy at least. What's your league like now? What's it down there? I mean, is it?
I don't think there's any teams that are any better than that Wheeling Fairmont Wheeling Triangle.
Right.
But it's way deeper.
Okay.
It's just in all. I mean, we had an incredible year last year. It's the first time anybody's ever gone undefeated in that league.
Amazing,
and, when I got down there, Barry had won the league with a record of 14-6 the first year, and was in the national tournament and was playing Northwest Missouri a close game, and they'd beaten Auburn in an exhibition game, but they went 14-6 in our league.
Yeah.
It's just every single night. If you have a bad game,
right, no off nights.
Yeah, it's way deeper. But I mean, going back to the last years I was here, it's hard to find Division II. Fairmont is as talented as any team I'd seen. They got guys in the G League off that team, 2 or 3.
Yep.
Haywood Highsmith out of Wheeling.
He's getting on an NBA team. Yeah,
he's down there. He's playing with the Heat.
The Heat, exactly.
So the talent level was incredible with the 3 teams there.
Yeah.
But it's a different league in that there's more talent at the bottom of the league.
Deeper top to bottom. Yeah. What about, have you started to develop any rivalries down there with that Nova maybe previously didn't have? Who was their rival before you got there? I would have a hard time even guessing.
They didn't have one.
Yeah, okay.
But, of course, again, they were last in the league.
Right.
Everybody likes them.
Right.
I'm trying to get some enemies, but I'm struggling right now.
I'll keep working.
I'm doing my best.
Keep going 31-0. I'm sure you're 31-1. That'll probably do it.
We had one of the greatest cheap shots against one of our players by a St. Leo player.
Wow. Chris, we went to St. Leo. Remember that when Coach was coaching in West Lib? Yeah.
I mean, it went viral on national.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It was one of the worst cheap shots. A guy come up and sucker punched Nick Smith from behind during a game. Their president, who's an idiot, said something along the lines of, well, it's okay to do that, basically.
Hey.
I said, no wonder they act that way. So kind of had it with St. Leo. I mean, basically, I just felt like they're a school that doesn't know wrong from right. They have no moral compass. And I thought maybe with St. Leo, but I don't know, not as good as I'd like to have. I kind of like that rivalry. Next to us, I got Jeff Price.
Saw he's down there now. Pretty good coach. A
little bit, and he's brought in good talent, done a good job, but we're too good of friends. We to do that. The coach down right below us at Barry. And that would be our rival team at Barry, but he's such a nice guy. He's also a good coach.
Is that guy been there for a while? Is that the same guy that had been there for a good while? Okay.
National
he seemed like a good guy,
I looked at one time, the 11 teams in our league, either 8 of the 9 coaches had been to the National Elite 8 or Final Four. Or something. Yeah, it's
a lot of parity. Yeah.
And I left here, I was the oldest coach in the Mountain East Conference. I'm like a kid down there. These guys won't give up these jobs.
Yeah, they're too good of weather, right? Too good of weather to pass up.
These guys are experienced, they're good coaches, and they like their jobs, and they won't give them up.
That's awesome. So you've developed kind of a professional friendship with Coach Spoelstra at the Miami Heat, huh? How did that all start?
And not like we're talking on a regular basis or anything, but I had done a podcast, and I was surprised when the gentleman I'd done the podcast with said, Coach Spoelstra would want to give you a call, and would you care if I gave him your number? I'm like, I can't see Eric Spoelstra bugging me. Plus, he's like he's big time down there. Yeah. If you go down to Miami, and I think he's an incredible coach.
I do too.
I think he's a phenom in the NBA as a coach, and he has no ego, or he wouldn't be calling me. And it did surprise me. He said, can we get together? I'm like, sure. And he said, well, we'll come up to your place.
Wow.
I'll bring a couple of my assistant coaches come up to your place, and I thought we'll sit down for an hour or 2 in the video room, talk basketball, which is what he wanted to do. He'd had a year he was disappointed in. He's like, I want to change some things, just getting some ideas and talking. And we sat there for 5 hours and talked basketball. Maybe the fastest 5 hours that I've ever gone through. I learned so much from him because I know so little about the NBA.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But things like, what's the relationship with, Pat Riley, and Pat Riley and the players, who decides who trades players, and your relationship with the players, and because he's one of the few guys that he is in control. The players don't run the show, he runs the show, but yet he still maintains that player-coach easy relationship.
Yeah, he's done a great job with that. It seems like the players do respect him. You don't see the Heat having a lot of off-the-court type stuff very often.
They had a Jimmy Butler thing
this year, but that Jimmy Butler has a lot.
I think that was almost like fake. Just
right, no, I agree. I agree. And then you forgot about it a couple weeks later, yep.
And for a small-town guy like me, to meet Eric Spoelstra and talk to him, and meet Brad Stevens that year and talk to him, are two guys I didn't know. It was an honor. But after meeting them, not to talk politics here, but I thought these are the guys that should be running the country.
Right,
right, exactly.
Oh yeah,
these guys are incredible leaders. They know right from wrong.
Common sense.
Yeah, they know how to lead people and get along with people. But we can't get people like that in politics.
No.
I remember thinking, because we were struggling so much with the division in politics. I thought, can these guys run the country? Because they could do it.
Please, I'll vote for them right now.
Coach, just changing gears here a minute, and there's just so much talk now about the NIL and the portal. What are your thoughts? And I'm really interested to hear the transfer portal. What are your thoughts about it, and how has it affected your guys possibly leaving, and then you go in and trying to get guys? Are you a fan of this?
No, definitely not a fan. But it is the wave of what's going on now, and probably the future, and kind of a perfect storm between the transfer portal and then the extra years everybody has with COVID. There's so many guys that are already graduated and can go wherever they want.
Yeah.
The NCAA lightening up rules on transferring, seeing out Division I. Yeah. The NLI thing hits. It's a perfect storm for the Wild Wild West.
That's what you call it.
We call it that a lot up here. Yep.
And it is. And it is. And every conversation, because there's so much communication between other coaches now, it seems like about transferring whatever, and the conversation always goes usually to NLI, and because it's taken over Division I big-time players.
Oh, yeah.
And talking with Chris earlier, it's hit the mid-majors this year, too. I'm talking to High Point or Towson State, and they're losing, their players to maybe picking up a $40,000 or $50,000 NLI somewhere at a bigger school, their best players. And, Miami didn't make any bones about it when they signed a guard from Kansas State. They said, that one gentleman this is who Saban referred to. He paid him. He's paying 110 athletes at Miami, all of them. Mm-hmm. And he said, we're going to give him $800,000, $400,000 a year. Yeah. And then they have a player who's Isaiah Wong. Is a good ACC, probably a first or second team, and he said, "Well, I'm only getting $100,000."
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Okay, we'll give you $400,000."
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I've read like a wide receiver from Pitt goes to Southern Cal, picked up a huge contract.
Yeah, they're poaching these guys from rosters across the country.
And you can do it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
With guys graduating, you combine that with it's okay to do it now. I was reading, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I was going through the rosters. They're having the basketball tournament now. The
TBT, yeah.
And they had the list of every single guy playing in it.
Mm-hmm.
And every guy there had their school they played at, and they've all played at three schools.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I noticed that too. It's like, lots of multiple guys.
Yeah,
school
you just
guys,
go from school to school, and for the first time, I've had a couple of players leave in my tenure at West Liberty. I remember sitting down with Bo Justice, who was a great player,
right,
and obviously good enough to be playing 40 minutes a game.
Yeah. But
when he walked in and said, I want to play more, and I said, well, there's Brady Arnold, Devin Hurd, David Dennis, Dan Monteroso, Clay Giazet. It's just going to be difficult. Right. You're going to play, but it was a tough thing for that. But for the first time, I had Sekou Silla and R.J. Sunahara walk in my office and say, I really like you, Coach. I like this players. I love the school. I love everything about this. But this is the nature of the beast. They've got Division I schools calling them and contacting and say, we want you to come to a Division I school. And next year it'll hit me because it not only be Division I, it'll be Division I with an NLI.
So you think it's kind of a chain reaction where the bigger schools are poaching off of the mid-majors and then the mid-majors are poaching off of you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah.
If you talk to all the mid-majors, you talk to High Point and Towson, they'll tell you our best players are in jeopardy of going to Virginia, or when I went to Oklahoma State.
I wonder how programs like that are going to be able to sustain. I mean, just keep trying to take guys from you, probably.
Take Sekou Silla. Yes. And I was told 2 years ago by a couple of Division I coaches, they said your players are on everybody's radar right now.
Right.
And I have a good young team right now. And only two of them, Will Yoakum being one of them, that will be actually lose eligibility this year. They'll all be back for at least a couple of years. But now it's about keeping your team intact. We have guys that really, really care about each other, which is probably the best thing we've got going on. And hopefully you
that'll
can build
keep
a
them
program.
around. Yep.
Because you were all here with me at West Liberty and saw guys grow together and become good teams.
Yeah.
You know, and
that definitely helps.
Do you think it's hurting the fan base as far as like people trying to get to know the players, and then they're there 1 year and they're gone, you know, and they after a while you think I can't even get to know the players, you know.
It should.
Yeah.
I wonder about that because people are funny. It's like
they are.
Are you cheering for the uniform only?
Right.
I mean, but I think it should. I cheer when I get to know players. When I start watching basketball games, I'll watch the game for a while and decide who I want. I want players I like and I know. And
we would have been crushed back in the day if Shane Maynard would have gotten left in the portal, or Bingley would have left.
Bonifant. I mean,
Seeger would have left. Yeah, it would have crushed the people that rooted for them and gotten to know them out in the bars with them or wherever, hanging out.
What?
Yeah, no.
The bars they come in to
players don't drink.
Pick up their food.
Right.
You mean at the family dinners?
Pick up their food. But just getting to know them, and then all of a sudden and it's not all their fault, really. They're just sort of going to.
We're crossing that line right now at Nova Southeastern, where our players have been there long enough, and now we're getting fans. I felt like our biggest fan base was through our employees.
Yeah.
You know, the students come and go. But, you know, Matt, you look back at all the people that work there. That were
I was going to ask you about
fall
that.
in love with it.
And Nova is the biggest employer in Broward County, and we're starting to get the regulars there.
That's really cool.
You know, and they love the players, you know, and it's like almost like, you know,
That's it.
The McGee's are feeding them up here at the church.
Yeah.
We're starting to get that down there for the first time ever.
That's really, really cool. I'm sure that they're just thrilled.
Yeah.
The people, the administrators and such at the school, I'm sure, are really excited about that, because that was an added thing that West Liberty that you didn't really, you know, you just take it for granted. I always used to tell people, don't take that stuff for granted, because you don't know how long it'll last.
Well, we don't want to lose it, and I don't want players to leave like a Sigurd Bonifant. What if he would have left?
Yeah.
He'd have broke people's heart. And even, you know, R.J. Sunahar was looking at leaving us this year, and I took a different approach. I basically, you know, I told him the truth. I don't want you to leave. I'm going to miss you as a player. I'm going to miss you personally.
Right.
And Sekou Silla, who left, I think I'm going to miss him more personally than I do as a coach. I really liked him. And I think that's part of it, and I don't want players to leave for that reason. I want that bond to be with us. I want it to be with our fans. And, you know, going back to your question, Mark, I just feel like, how do fans cheer for hired guns that come in all the time?
Yeah,
you
right.
know? We have two guys coming in off the transfer portal, which is unusual for us, but I feel like they're such blend players. Thomas Murphy and Will Yoakum are likable guys, and I signed those guys ahead of the guys that I thought. Right. I don't know if our fans will like this.
And Thomas Murphy, he's coming in from Vermont. Is that where he? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So pretty successful D1 kid, and I think he looks like a good fit for you.
Yeah. 6-year junior.
Yeah. You gotta love that. That's coach's dream.
He's already got his master's degree. He's
wonderful.
Already completed his undergrad.
You get him for 2 years, and
he's got 2 years left. I don't even know how it works anymore.
Now, do you think, and we're probably getting close to wrapping it up, do you think a national championship, obviously that's your ultimate goal, I know that. Do you think it's within reach this year for you?
Yeah, I do. I thought it was last year too. You know, if you get to the Elite Eight and get hot, anything could happen there.
Right. Coach, you once told me one time, not to interrupt, but you once told me one time that you thought at the Elite Eight, a couple of times that we made it back in the West Liberty days, that you thought if they played that tournament over again, it would be an entirely different winner, because you thought that the teams, probably 6 of the 8, could have won it almost every time we were there. So that goes to what you're saying.
It's like that. I thought Northwest Missouri was the exception the last couple of years.
Yes.
They stepped up with a stronger team than everybody else. Outside of them, anybody could have won. Anybody could have won it. They were the odds-on favorite almost. But so normally, and we could win it. But I feel like of the 315 teams, I think there's probably 25 teams that could win it. You know, I hate to say there's probably 250 that can't win it.
Right. Well, no, that's reality.
They know that.
But there's a lot of teams, whether it's 20 or 25 or 30 teams could win it. We're in that group.
Good.
You know, we'll be rated high, though I don't see how, but we've lost 3 great players, but we'll be rated high preseason. I feel really good about our team coming back, both as players and as also the kind of guys I want to coach.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Hey, Coach, so when you come back up this way, is there anything food-wise that you like to stop and get when you're back in town?
I'm a regular at the barbecues, you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny. I ran to Dalton Bowling
Oh, yeah.
2 years ago up at the par 3. They had the barbecue.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's good stuff, yeah.
And I hadn't seen him in years. And the first thing he said was like, I just knew if I ever ran into you again,
Be at a barbecue place. That's great, yeah. Now, I remember that going on some of the trips down to Carolinas and stuff. I know you're a big barbecue guy. Have you guys done any, well, you guys are kind of the destination travel spot, so you probably get all your out-of-conference teams wanting to come down and play you. Have you gone on any interesting trips like we used to?
We're starting the season out next year a week early to that small college. They try to bring in the best 8 teams they can in the country. We are going to play Alabama. It's in Orlando.
Okay.
And Northwest Missouri State will be there, and Queens, and all good teams.
Yeah.
We're playing Alabama Huntsville, who's definitely going to be a top 20 team next year, and Dallas Baptist, who has been a top 20 team for the last 5 years. So we'll play those 2 teams right off the bat in Orlando. Kind of tough way to start the season. Outside of that, we're going to bring teams down. We got UPJ coming down this year out of this area. We made, you know, I guess
is Rukavina still coaching there?
He is.
He is? Wow, I haven't kept up, but
and he's a great guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's a really fun dude.
But we've Jordan Fee does the scheduling and does the bulk of it as always. But he, you know, supposedly I've told him ask every team in the Mountain East Conference and every team in Pennsylvania Conference, every team from Ohio. We'll play them home and home. If you'll come to Fort Lauderdale, we'll come to Central West Virginia.
How come
I think they're winning that deal. I do.
How come are you going to hook something up with Ben?
We've made the offer, you know, and I'll tell you what's kind of funny about that, because my first thought was like, you know, West Lib is good, and you know, playing up here with a fan base like you guys are, tough for us to come up here and win, though we could, but we could lose too. And tough for me to come back here and get my butt beat back here in my home area. But my wife made a comment one time. She says, you know, how do you think the fans would want to see that? I said, yeah, I do. I think they want to see the game.
My goodness.
She goes, don't you feel like you owe the fans something? I was like, I owe them a ton. So yet she changed my mind. I said, you know something? I'll play.
Oh, that'd be great.
Well, you know, Coach, so probably everybody be rooting for you.
I don't know about that.
I think that'd be a game where everyone would go home happy regardless of the outcome most of the time.
Oh, that's Coach, I want to ask you one other question. Going back, I mean, the way the game has changed and evolved, do you like the way the game's played compared to back in the day? I mean, with just the reliance on the three-point shot and the individualism, not so much in the college game, but I find it hard to even watch an NBA game, just the way it's guys don't even get up and down the court and the guys are already jacking up at 3, and it's harder to watch for me personally. I don't like. I was just curious your thoughts.
Well, you're
on
like
that.
me. You know, I'll pick and choose games, but all of a sudden when I see a team playing a game where they've got 5 guys playing together, and I've seen it. You know, sometimes I've caught Gonzaga on the team. I thought, wow, they look like a team. You know, there's a chemistry issue there, and you know, I follow those teams. It's tough not to get into that mold yourself. You know? And I have felt that way with my own teams. You know, we're getting too much individual. We're not making each other better. And, you know, the only thing that I felt like that we've continued to do, and I feel it's been a secret for West Liberty when I was there and still is, they play a little bit harder than other teams do.
Yes.
And I think that lends itself as a fan to me.
Absolutely.
I'll forgive a lot for guys who just play hard.
Totally.
And that's probably even more than sometimes the teamwork or the three-point shooting. I want guys that are out there just playing as hard as they possibly can. Show a lot of heart, you know, in the game. I can watch that.
Right.
Yeah, your teams have never lacked effort, Coach, and that's another one of the great things about you. Somehow you bring it out in these guys. It's quite remarkable.
Thank
you.
you.
You guys got anything else for Coach? Or?
No, I just I remember the old him kicking my butt in racquetball. I still have
remember that.
horrible memories of that, man, kicking my and Herb's ass. That was awful. I still have horrible memories. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Coach, you still playing any tennis?
Pickleball.
I'm playing
Just
I'm playing a lot of tennis.
Okay.
Oh, you're playing tennis
I'm
too.
playing it on the clay courts down there all year long.
Yeah, beautiful.
At least two times a week at
That's
least.
great.
And
That's
then
gotta
I
be
am
great.
playing pickleball too. The craze is in down there.
Oh, yeah.
That is really neat.
Pickleball's great though.
You have never heard trash talking in basketball like Jordan Fee and Devin Hearn on a pickleball court.
I'd love to see
during
that.
live, they are just yelling at each other
That's too fun.
constantly. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming, Coach. Thank you for the
Coach.
time.
It's been a blast.
We'll be following you, and hopefully you can call in one day when you're on like a 20-game winning streak and tell us about it. And we appreciate you coming up and spending some time with us, and we wish you the best of luck. Take your Pine Room gear back to Florida with you, and promote the Pine Room down there.
I really appreciate it. It's great being back here with you guys again.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Pine Room Podcast with Coach Crutchfield, and best of luck to Nova Southeastern this season.
And thanks to Job, our
wonderful birthday producer.
On his birthday, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.